Hey guys, it's Bina, and in today's video, I'm happy to present to you my Lightning Blast Runemaster build guide. So this is a build that I have played in hardcore. I died to a DC. It was going so well. I've presented this one in the past week in a separate video talking about it and showcasing it, explaining a little bit of it. But now I'm pretty much done with the min-max. I've done a few changes here and there. So let's go over the full build guide, and this is now up on Max Roll as a written format as well. So this build uses Lightning Blast to apply Spark Charges. Spark Charge is an element that explodes after 1 second after being applied on the monster. If the monster dies, all Spark Charges are detonated. And so it doesn't scale with the typical stuff that skills usually scale with. So it doesn't scale with any Lightning Blast multipliers. That is why we're using Fragment of the Enigma, the offhand catalyst, to be able to scale the flat damage portion of it. So it gains 2 flat damage per intelligence. So this is why we are stacking intelligence quite a bit. It's a Runemaster, so we get access to Cold Fire Cold. Cold Fire Cold is a runic invocation that scales off of your intelligence, gives you a big burst of ward, and also gives you ward per second. So basically, there's lots of good synergy with intelligence scaling on this build, whether it is for damage or for defense. You can see me here against Uber Aberoth. I think this is a very good build to learn Uber Aberoth in softcore. No, I would not necessarily try to attempt this in hardcore, although it can be done. The mechanics of the build just make it quite good to learn the fight, as you are a ranged build. It's just like point and click playstyle, and you have like really fairly good damage. So I'd say this one is a really balanced build, like a balance between tankiness, damage, mobility, and pretty much everything alike, right? It has like its range, it has a lot of upsides, but it's not the best in any area. It's not the best tankiness, it's not the best damage, it's not the best clear, but it succeeds very well in every single situation. So it's a very versatile build. Strongly recommend if you're looking for a typical mage experience that is not too complicated, just like point and click playstyle. This build might be for you. So that being said, we can see here I'm against Uber Aberoth. So the reason why I don't think this is the best for Uber Aberoth in hardcore particularly is because it's just not you don't have enough damage to skip phases very quickly. You don't have enough tankiness to tank to stand in everything. So if you make a mistake, you will die, but it is very good to learn to fight because it is targeted damage, and you can basically learn how to position all the lasers properly. You can learn, like, if you know what attacks he does, you can do an actual very clean fight. This one was not a clean fight on my part. I didn't want to record more attempts here. This took me maybe 2 or 3 attempts before I got it down. Dying. So, oh yes, one part that I need to mention here is that we are using a new tech, which is using mirror images on teleport with Mantle of the Pale Ox. So Mantle of the Pale Ox redirects damage to your highest health minion, and mirror images are minions, so we can actually benefit from the damage reduction of Mantle of the Pale Ox. And the reason I died in the last phase on my first attempt to record this fight was Aberoth actually targeting my mirror image instead of me. So with this specific big attack, yeah, I actually died from it because I teleported to the other side, which I thought was safe, and then he just Kamehameha waved the freaking spot where I was going. So that being said, it's still, I think for softcore, one of the better builds actually for to learn to fight properly without using any S tier builds that just kind of make the fight more of a joke than it should be. Yeah, I think it's a very good bit to learn. So let's watch the end of the fight here. This is like a 5-minute kill time, I believe, with yeah, about 5-minute kill time with this endgame platter. So it fairly good, not OP, just it's a fair build. It's a fair build. So I can see a lot of people liking this build for the easy playstyle aspect of it. Basically, like, only point and click. Yep. Using Flame Ward to tank the pizzas on this fight is very, very good. So if you time your Flame Ward properly, you can actually survive the big pizza slams that he does. And since you have 2 charges of Flame Ward, you basically get those permanently, really. Like for every pizza, you will have 1 up. Let's go over some mapping here. So we're gonna go in a map at 1000 corruption. And show a little bit of the mapping for this build. So, as I said, basically point and click. There are a few things that you can do as well, right? So if you go through your frost wall, you gain haste. You can refresh your haste with teleport. So what I'm doing for mapping usually is I just hold teleport and I hold runic invocation. You cast cold fire cold, which gives us the big burst of ward and the ward per second. So we can keep our ward very, very high. And it's just point and click. So as you can see, very easy playstyle. On priority targets, you want to use Frost Wall, since Frost Wall will also cast Lightning Blast. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, there's nothing much to it. So let's jump straight into the guide and see what it's all about. So we've already talked about it being a Spark Charge build. It requires Fragment of the Enigma. It gives you +2 lightning damage for Spark Charge per intelligence. This is why we're stacking intelligence. It will also give you increased damage for it. It will also give you ward retention. So intelligence just has a lot of synergy, as well as Mad Alchemist Ladle. You get 1 mana gain per 4 int. You gain cast speed per 2 int. So lots and lots and lots of intelligence synergies on this build. So we're using Flame Ward for defenses and tankiness. Frost Wall for valuable buffs, damage. It also casts Lightning Blast as well. Runic Invocation for Cold Fire Cold, and Lightning Blast will remain a skill to apply the Spark Charges. Keep in mind that Teleport also applies Spark Charge when you are teleporting around, because Fragment of the Enigma has this line of text which says, you cast Teleport when you apply a Spark Charge to all enemies around the destination. So while mapping, even though you don't get, this is not the biggest multiplier of Spark Charge you can get, because in Lightning Blast, you actually get 200% Spark Charge damage. Teleporting into a pack will actually make all the Spark Charges overlap one another and be actually, pretty good at clear. So you need this. Prismatic Gaze and Grasp of the Blood Mage, try to get a very high roll of crit chance on them. That's going to be your main source of base crit chance, which is going to enable you to reach crit cap more easily. And Twisted Heart is your main source of ward generation. This is why we are scaling health as much as possible. We're scaling lots of health and generating a lot of ward with Twisted Heart of Eucharos, with lots of cast speed, alongside our reactive ward that we're getting here, which it gives you a percent of your gives you a bonus of ward based on your health. So we're scaling health to scale reactive ward as well. So we get a big burst of ward when we drop below 70%, which sometimes happen with Twisted Heart, and sometimes happen when enemies just chunk through your ward and your health. So then you got your endurance kicking in, but then you got your ward that goes up again because of reactive ward. So it's pretty fun, easy to play, good in the end game, pretty much pretty good overall build. Jagged Veil is bug. Let's talk about this one here. It gives you more maximum crit multi. So if you have 100% crit chance, this would be a 20% more damage multiplier, but it is currently bugged, does not work at all. The ward gain on crit does work, but the damage about it does not work. So this has been reported by me, but if you want to report it as well, you can press F8 in game and report it as well, so that we make sure that this gets fixed very quickly, because we will gain 20% more damage from this. And again, it needs Fragment of the Enigma. So yeah, tanky very early. So let's talk about the pros. This build gets very tanky early because as soon as you unlock your Runemaster Mastery, you can immediately go into Runic Invocation and use, even on spec, you can use it for Cold Fire, Cold Invocation, which gives you a burst of ward and ward per second. So this is what makes it very, very good, even for leveling. Keep in mind, for leveling, you won't have Fragment of the Enigma, but as soon as you go into Runemaster, you will be very tanky because of the ward generation and the intelligence that you're stacking. point and click playstyle. It has good scaling with gear and uniques. So the main reason is because like stacking lots of int, getting crit chance, getting the cast speed, getting the flat damage. A lot of this comes from your gear. So that's very good. Balance, speed, damage, and survivability. It requires a specific unique as a con. That is true. It can be difficult to crit cap if you do not have perfect rolls of like 4% prismatic gaze and 4% grasp the blood mage. It can be pretty difficult. One option would be rolling spell crit chance on either your wand, your offhand, or your amulet. But ideally, you want to get as high as possible on the base crit chance on these items. Defensive skills require timing. Yes, like without Flame Ward. Although with this particular version, with Mantle of Pale Ox and 2 red rings, you are quite tanky even without it. But Flame Ward, that is how you tank the big attacks. And there's occasional mana management required. The good thing is that you have access to mana gain on potion use on your belt and on your wand. So that makes it fairly easy to sustain mana in certain situations where you would actually run out of mana. So for example, if I just use Lightning Blast all the time here, and then you use your Frost Wall here. So if your Frost Wall is near other enemies, it will also cast Lightning Blast, which will not help to sustain your mana. But as you hit bosses, they drop potions. As you kill monsters, they drop potions. If you ever find yourself in need of mana, pop a few potions, and boom, you're back up to full mana. So that is how we solve the mana issues with the build. Let's talk about the skills now. So Lightning Blast, as we said, the main applicator of spark charges. You get access to a lot of things in here. This skill tree maximizes damage as much as possible and also gives you access to Lightning Aegis on cast. Lightning Aegis has some synergies with, well, first of all, it's a damage reduction. So Lightning Aegis, what this does is, we can see here in game. Can we see here? Yes. Lightning Aegis causes you to take 25% less damage, but it removes when you take enough damage equal to 25% of your health. This also applies to the ward portion of your tankiness. So if you take 25% of your health as ward damage, the Lightning Aegis will go away. So keep that in mind, right? So while you are actually fighting, you have this up pretty much all the time. But if you get hit, you need to reapply it. And Lightning Blast is how we get access to this. So this is what we do. Another thing about Lightning Blast is that I talk about it here. The convergence makes all of your chains hit the same target. We're using this node to make all the chains go onto the same target. Since we don't need Lightning Blast for clear, we already have spark charges for this. We needed to apply many hits on one single target to improve our damage. It cuts the number of chains in half and then rounds up. So you want to go for an odd number of chains to get the best value out of it. This is why we go for 3 points here and 2 points in here. Teleport is our main movement ability. So when we blink, we generate mirror images, which synergizes with the Mantle of the Pale Ox, damage redirected to your highest health minions. So this is how we get a lot of DR from this one. This is new from this patch, thanks to the new item Mantle of the Pale Ox. It also refreshes your haste for 4 seconds. So when you are actually playing, you go through your Frost Wall once, right? And then you have like very short duration of haste when you go through it. But if you use this and then use teleport on cooldown, since teleport will have less than 4-second cooldown, you can keep your haste forever with this. So that is a very good way to do it. And then it also gives you some resistances. So cold res, armor, fire res, lightning res. And then you increase the duration here and a little bit of ward retention. So this is very good early on, especially to cap your res. Runic Invocation, we talked about this a little bit. You generate cold, fire, cold runes. Let's talk about how do we generate cold, fire, cold. So the thing is that we are converting Lightning Blast to cold with this passive node, Rune of Winter. So that is going to be one of our cold runes. We convert Frost Wall to fire with Pyroglass, and we convert Flame Ward to cold. So we've got, because Runic Invocation will use this node, Immutable Order, which guarantees the rune based on the order of the skill on your action bar. You want to have Flame Ward, Frost Wall, and Lightning Blast from left to right. Runic Invocation does not count, and Teleport does not count. So you only have 3 skills that generate runes. and so that's gonna guarantee getting the proper order. I also talk about this in the FAQ if you're not sure, but yeah, I want to put the emphasis on this one because I know this one is a question that is going to be asked. Like, Bina, how do I get my cold fire cold? I can't seem to get it. It's because of conversion. Mainly, I think one that might be missed is Rune of Winter in the passive tree to convert Lightning Blast to cold. Keep in mind, this does not mean that the spark charges will be cold. Spark charges are still spark charges and they deal lightning damage. Only your Lightning Blast itself, which we don't really care about for our damage since we're not scaling Lightning Blast damage, we're scaling spark charges damage. So that is what we're doing with this one. The rest kind of like improves the skill a little bit, gives you access to like a double cast chance to get even more ward. It gives you like lower cooldown, gives you the spell damage with the buff and the cast speed, and then you also get a little bit more cast speed and current mana gain when you cast Runic Vacation. So that pretty much covers Runic Vacation. Very easy, you just hold it down while mapping. Flame Ward is your defensive skill. This optimizes tankiness and gives you a second charge, gives you also the conversion to cold. So this one is pretty straightforward. Use it when you want to have a lot of tankiness. And then we have Frost Wall. Does a couple of things. It applies the brand of Trespass. This is going to enable us to like enable the Celestial Doom more damage multiplier to branded bosses. So that's pretty good. It gives us the Fire Rune. It gives us a cleanse as well. So if you are if you want to cleanse any elements on yourself or during the Uber Aberoth fight, for example, when you are rooted, just cast Frostwall on yourself and you will be cleansed. Gives us the initial source of haste and also casts a Lightning Blast here. Gives us also Chilled Touch, is a more multiplier to damage while you have an active Frostwall. Only works on chilled enemies. That is why in the passive tree, we grab 1 point in Circle of Elements to get access to Chill Chance with cold skills, and because we convert Lightning Blast to cold with this one, then we get access to chill, then we get access to the more multiplier from Chilled Touch in Frostwall. So that pretty much covers the skills. There are some additional skill and tips here if you want to read them. One of them is talking about the final spark node and spark charges. Bina, why do you take this? This is because it makes it much smoother during mapping. Doesn't affect your actual single target DPS. Technically, you could go for more cast speed in here, but this just makes it very, very good feeling when you are mapping so that you can kill monsters faster. If we go over the passives, we're scaling most of the intelligence. In here, we're grabbing intelligence, cast speed, the conversion, and then everything about reactive ward to be able to get increased ward gain and the ward gain cooldown duration so that you proc this more often and you proc more of the ward. Ward retention, very good, especially since the nerf in 1.2 to ward retention. The nerf was that they took away the intelligence scaling of ward retention from 4% to 2% only. So that was a pretty big nerf for ward retention, and now you kind of have to invest into a little bit more ward retention if you wish to to keep more ward on yourself. Then we go into the sorcery tree here. 8 intelligence to get access. Well, the 5-point bonus is increase spell crit chance per int, and this one is another very, very important one. 3% because we're stacking more than 200 int. That's gonna give us a lot of increased critical strike chance, and is the main reason why we don't have to build any crit chance on our gear, and we can only rely on this one to get our crit. Arcane Momentum stacks with Essence of Celerity, gives us movement speed, the best stat in the entire game. And then there's also increased spell damage, which is very efficient with this node. And then we grab this one to go into here, Lightning Pen and Lightning Damage Leech. I have one missing point here, just because we actually need to have the point that I talked about in Circle of Elements. This point technically could be removed from anywhere else. You could remove 1 point of intelligence. You could remove 1 point of whatever else you might want. But I decided to go with the Lightning Pen and Lightning Damage Leech since most of our tankiness will be from ward anyways. And we have a lot of damage, so Leech will be good. And then 3% Lightning Penetration is not that much to sacrifice. Then we go into the Runemaster tree. We grab the less damage taken to ignited shock or chilled enemies, which is always going to be up on targets that we hit. 1 point travel skill to get to the intelligence and ward on direct spell cast, pretty important. The chill chance and the shock chance is very important here. So the 10% shock chance is going to help us with applying 10 stacks of shock, which will increase our damage as well. So that is going to be, it's a mandatory node, because if you only take 1 point into here for 5% shock chance with lightning skills, so you only get this on your spark charges, that's not going to be enough to get 10 stacks of shock reliably on targets. That is why we take this one as well. Because keep in mind, your lightning blast is cold, so your lightning blast itself doesn't apply to shock, only the spark charges. So you need to make sure that you have enough chance to shock to get 10 stacks at all times on bosses especially. Rune Word Cataclysm, this one gives you more damage to low health enemies, and it also gives you crit chance. That is one way that we get to cap our crit as well. We need this for the crit chance as well, not only for the more damage multiplier. One travel point here to get into the Rune of Dilation, movement speed, cast speed after using a traversal skill. Since we're going to be doing teleport on cooldown, we're always going to have this up. We grab the crit multi here, which is really good because we're using a wand. More damage here. Just another more damage multiplier, always going to be up and doubled because we will have a raw rune. Then it is intelligence here, cooldown recovery speed per intelligence. So as you can see, we get so much of intelligence, the crit, the cooldown, the flat damage, the mana gain on potion use, the cast speed, everything scales off of intelligence. 1 point here because lightning blast is a cold skill, so this will always be up, gives us 10 flat damage. Jagged Veil, as I talked about earlier, is bugged, and the crit multiplier does not work. So when this does work, the build will receive a 20% more damage buff. So it will be like pretty close to S tier damage, but not quite there yet. But yeah, very, very good. Ward gain on crit. So it's another source of generation for ward. And then Celestial Doom, as I said earlier, is the brand is applied by the Frost Wall, thanks to Brand of Invaders. So when you put a Frost Wall on a monster, it will apply the brand. It will do Lightning Blast on it, and then you also get like a more damage multiplier and ward generation. So that kind of covers it for the passive. You can read it here. The gameplay section, first you generate Cold Fire Cold by using Lightning Blast, and then you use your Runic Evocation to start your ward generation. You place a Frost Wall. You teleport to refresh haste after 4 seconds and apply 4 seconds. And apply spark charges to enemies around, and then you can attack with Lightning Blast. You place your Frost Wall near the priority targets, you refresh your Ruin's Frost Wall on cooldown, and keep Teleport Bus up, and use your Flame Ward for defensive. This sounds like a lot, but like all in all, it can be resumed to this. You start the map, right? You cast a few of your Lightning Blast, you hold down Runic Evocation, put a Frost Wall, go through it, and hold down Teleport. So I'm holding down 2 buttons, right? And I'm just attacking with Lightning Blast. That's all I'm doing. So it sounds like a lot, but technically, you're really it's nothing. It's like you're holding down 2 buttons and putting down a frost wall near targets that you want to have more damage on. That's it. It's very, very simple, even though there's a lot of lines of text here. For bossing, nothing special for bossing. It's the same thing. Keep in mind, avoid using evade as much as possible, because Nihilist has a line of text that will consume your take a certain portion of your current health and ward loss when you use evade. So you don't really want to lose your ward, since that's your main source of damage mitigation. So yeah, you just don't use evade as much as possible. On boss fights, you could use evade sometimes to help you reposition if your teleport is on cooldown. Doesn't really matter that much. You will get your ward up afterwards quite quickly. But yeah, try to not use it as much as possible. And then drink potions to refill your mana when you need it. Let's go over the gearing section. So we're scaling intelligence as much as possible on this build. Keep in mind, we have different tabs here. Starter. So one question I get asked a lot, Bina, red rings on endgame planner. Like, what can I use before then? Well, just check the starting planner, guys. Okay, we got increased crit chance ring here, with stuff like mana regen, int. We have also Jill Restore Dial, which can be an option if you want to go for a more damage-oriented playstyle. But in the end game, I do suggest going for red rings. It's just the best option here by a big margin here. Because not only does this give you all attributes, gives you int, has guaranteed 1 LP, also gives you mana regen and 20% all res, and movement speed, and less damage taken. Like, red rings are just amazing. So yeah, go for them. But check the starting planner if you want to get an idea of what to use before you have access to these items. So the build requires Fragment of the Enigma. We're scaling int, so of course we're going to be getting int as much as possible on all of the pieces of gear. Mad Alchemist Ladle, one of the other bigger piece. It gives you access to so many things. The biggest thing you want here is Armor Shred on spell hit. Try to get this as high as possible. And the second roll on the Aspirational Planner for Grass of the Blood Mage for chance to Armor Shred on hit. That would be another good one. But if you have a very high roll of chance to shred on spell hit on this one, you don't actually need to have shred on either your gloves or your amulet for a single target, but it will make it much better for mapping to apply your damage faster, since armor shred is a must on any hit-based build. It's another multiplier that a lot of people tend to ignore. If you don't have a very high roll of shred, prioritize getting shred either on your gloves or your amulet or somewhere, because that is going to be way more damage than just going for int. So yeah, armor shred, very, very, very important. Use it. So Mad Alchemist Ladle can be farmed on exiled mages. There is a method as well, the exiled mage woven echo. If you spec into the nodes on your woven tree, that doubles the exiled mages. You can get a lot of exiled mages there, and if you don't finish the map and you just exit and come back, you can farm it forever. So that's the best way to get your Mad Alchemist Ladle. Another thing with Mad Alchemist Ladle, it seems like it has a very, very low chance of getting legendary affixes when you put it in the Nemesis egg. So if you want to try and get a good LP, good high LP one, just recycle them all the time, putting in the Nemesis and putting in the turtle, and trying to get higher LP. You will have a good time finding one with at least 3 LP, I am sure. Twisted Heart is one of our main source of ward generation. Not only does it give us health, it also gives us cast speed. Strength is also armor. It gives us access to the conversion of our health converted to ward. So that's going to be a big part of our ward generation engine. And you get a guaranteed slam plus the level 2 elemental spells. It's just absolutely amazing. Use one as soon as possible. You can farm this one in the Emperor of Corpse timeline. So I talked about this, Prismatic Gaze and Grass of the Blood Mage. Try to get 4% base crit on those. That's going to help with your crit. Orion's Descent is another belt that is farmed with a Woven Echo. You use this with the Seeker Summit. So in this Woven Echo, you just kill a boss. It's very, very easy. Try to get 25 intelligence on it. That's going to be your biggest roll that you're after. So Foot of the Mountain after this. A lot of people don't like Foot of the Mountain. You can use Blood of the Exile if you want to get more movement speed, but Foot of the Mountain just makes more sense because you get access to 12 all attributes, which also gives you vitality, which also gives you health and resistances, and you get 28% endurance, which you are stacking health. So not only is your ward a good portion of your EHP, but your health is as well. As you can see on the aspirational planner here, if you go, we have like almost 4k health, and we are capping our endurance. I don't cap the endurance totally in the end game. We are only grabbing this one from Foot of the Mountain. It would be quite hard to cap endurance. Maybe you could go for certain idols, but don't underestimate the amount of health that you have and how much this plays a role in your overall tankiness. So yes, Foot of the Mountain is the better choice, but Blood of the Exile is an option for mapping or to get just more movement speed if that is something that you enjoy. So yeah, insane boots. Mental Pale Ox with the mirror images just has like so many good stats. Keep in mind that all the strength here, all stats, the strength on here, this all contributes to having a higher roll of armor on your build, and armor is really, really good at mitigating hit damage. And since we do not have a shield to block hits, having as high armor as possible is very important. Also gives us DR, gives us movement speed, 16 strength. You don't care about the strength minion skills. Try to get as much as a high roll on the damage redirected to your highest health minion. That is going to be very important. Nihilist is a great addition to the build. +2 skills. Try to get mana regen on here as much as possible and all res. The rest of the rolls are pretty good too. The +1 to all skill, you actually don't need a +2 skills because Lightning Blast has kind of like some extra points that are not absolutely necessary. The second point in Lightning Attunement, the point in Final Spark, it's more like quality of life than absolute necessity. So if you get a really good Nihilist with +1 skills, you can use that one instead of a +2. Of course, movement speed, increased mana, increased health, all of these are very good. Nihilus is just a crazy piece of gear. Another thing I want to talk about is the idols. So a lot of the idols interact with lighting aegis. So when you have lighting aegis, you'll have a lot of increased lighting damage and a lot of cast speed. So that is those are very, very efficient idols. So I needed to talk about them here. And then red ring, we already talked about it, but like it really, really helps with capping your res, all attributes, movement speed, less damage taken. We reached the cap, the threshold of 180 total attributes very easily. So yeah, that pretty much covers the build. So here we talk about a scaling section. We already talked about this. If you want to go over all of the damage scaling, all of the defense scaling, the loot filter, we have new loot filters on max roll, which you can select your different levels of strictness. Either it is for a build guide or for your own build. This is available to you. So you can do this with the actual planner itself if you want to make your own build, or on this particular build, you can select your strictness level. So yeah, if you want to understand it, click on this article link to read the guide to the loot filter. Here we have a few FAQs. I can't seem to reach 100% spell crit chance. So that is mainly because of the flat rolls on your prismatic gaze and Grasp of the Blood Mage. Make sure you get a lot of int. Why do your runes not generate cold fire cold? As I said before, make sure that you are converting them properly, especially lightning blast with the passive, and then putting them on your action bar in the proper order from left to right. And how do I manage mana? Well, you get mana on potion use, so when you need mana, you just drink a potion. So that pretty much covers the build, guys. This was a very, very fun build to play. I will make another one of this character in hardcore because I just enjoy it so much. It is extremely fun to play. I am very surprised. This is a bug that I found while min-maxing the build, and because I wanted to test, like, does this crit multiplier apply to also applies to lightning critical strike multiplier, or does it only apply to generic crit multi? And I found that it just doesn't apply at all. So in the future, I will revise this to actually mention if it does work with lightning crit multi, which I think it does or should. But yeah, so it's only gonna get better from here. It's already A tier. It's already up in the tier list. I've been asked for this one for quite a while now. So here it is. It's released. And I hope you have fun with this Lightning Blast Runemaster, guys. I'll see you guys all in the next video.